Rebecca McNamee has contacted us. Rebecca, good afternoon. Why have you contacted us?
Hello, Joe.
How?
Well, we have a group in Donegal called the Parents' Right, and what we are about is we've actually been established to give parents information about the RSE programme as we know it, and what we found could be the possible introduction of information of which we would never allow our children to be subjected to. We have two different documents. We have the actual NCCA Relationships and Sexuality Education Report, which was only put out there in July 2019. And within that document, it states, it actually makes reference to the World Health Organization, the WHO document, which is a framework for educators and health authorities in Europe. Now, we would have great concerns about the possible introduction of content within the WHO document, as the World Health Organization has been referenced in the report multiple times. And we would like to just let everybody know that we're actually giving, information to the public that is public information. It's not private information or information that we shouldn't have. The three of us, Rebecca, Breda and Cormac, we are friends first, but we're just concerned adults who believe
and
that the innocence of the child
it's the National Council for the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment. My understanding is it's a consultation process at the moment, but you say they're using documents from the World Health Organization. What is in those documents, given that that's the only concrete thing we're looking at the moment, but you think are going to be used, Rebecca, what is in the WHO document that you object to?
Well, there's a lot of different language used within the document.
So what language do you object to? Insofar as if you want to repeat it on air, maybe you don't want to repeat it on air.
I'm not sure whether we're allowed to do that or not, because at the end of the day, the WHO document has been referenced within the NCCA document and then also another research paper by Celine Keaton, Dr. Celine Keaton.
Okay. What I'd say to people, if you were asking me to give a health warning to parents for the next few minutes, just be circumspect. But what words do you think cannot be used, should not be used?
Well, you'd be talking about like consent to sexual activity. You'd be talking about the different types of sexuality and the different types of gender, methods of contraception to national school children. And they will go into different aspects of that. So the ages that they start from is 0 to 4. The next age is from 4 to 6. And then it's 6 to 9, 9 to 12, and 12 to 15 plus. So when you anybody can actually check the Google, you can type it into Google, the World Health Organization document 2010, and from pages 38 to 50 will give you all of the information that is available, and this is the framework.
Yeah, but
the actual framework.
Yeah, but they're not going to be using that language to 4-year-olds because they wouldn't understand it.
Well, that's what we want proof of. We want to be guaranteed that this type of language will never be used with them. But if you look at the WHO document...
Up to what age?
Well, you're talking about from the age group that they actually have within the document, where it starts from 0 to 4 up to 15.
Just in terms of your view, Cormac, Breda and yourself, Rebecca, three friends. For example, the word transgender... Yeah. What age can we talk about that?
Well, they will talk about the different genders.
No, but what age? What age do you think?
Well, I don't believe that there's a need to talk about any of that, and our argument is
at all.
It's not national school age. It's absolutely not national school age, and that's where we have the issue. We've had a lot of parents come to us who has told us that their child has come home just saying different things, different scenarios. One child was in 4th class who was asked, who innocently put their hand up and asked the question, well, how do gays have sex? I don't think that type of language should be in any child's vocabulary. Doesn't matter whether you're gay, whether you're straight. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. I do not think that picture should be in any child's age and national school age.
What would you think of a 12-year-old putting up their hand in 4th class and saying, how does my mammy and daddy have sex? What's wrong with asking? I'm not saying you have to answer the question, and teachers are very skilled. They answer it. They have great ways of answering questions like that.
Yeah.
But is that the same? Would that cause the same offence to you as a child saying, how do gays have sex?
Well, I personally don't like it. No, I don't think that they should be thinking about that at that age.
Well,
I
how
don't
do you
think
stop them?
They should have to worry about that. And, well, I'm only 40 years of age, Joe, so I'm not going back too long altogether. I would never have dreamt of ever speaking out to my parents and asking them any questions in regards to that.
Yeah, but I
don't know why there's such a freedom of speech.
Yeah, but if children are curious, very curious, wonderfully.
They're naturally curious from a very young age.
Curious. It's magnificently curious.
It is, but it's not always in their best interest.
Well, let's...
Not always.
Okay, well, let's drill down into this. Are you saying there is a difference between a 12-year-old putting their hand up in the class and saying, teacher, we have a new baby in our house and it's just come home from hospital. Where did my new baby come from? My new baby sister.
I would say it's down to the parents. We would absolutely be advocating that the parents would have the right to tell.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, you say, and would you object to someone age 12 asking, or you're upset by someone age 12 putting their hand up and saying, how do your phrase, gays have sex?
Yes.
Okay. Do you object to them saying, how does my mommy and daddy have sex?
I do not think that any child should be thinking about that at any age. And as I said, we're talking about national school children. So this has been brought 12, down, and that's the part that...
Well, now, do you not think... Well, Rebecca...
You're going into secondary school at that stage. We're concentrating on the primary school age at this stage.
Yeah, but do you...
So dealing with the content for primary school ages, it's totally inappropriate. And the NCCA reports, like they will talk about on page 58... Sorry, on page 74, they will talk about everything being age appropriate, being defined as age appropriate, and time, as timely and developmentally sensitive manner.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that teaching any type of sexual activity to children who would be in national school is appropriate in any shape or form.
But they say teachers are we're extraordinarily blessed in this country with the standard of teaching at primary and second level. Extraordinarily blessed. The 4 year, it's an extraordinarily long course, loads of practical work. Do you not trust your teachers?
The problem is, Joe, is that the teachers, the information we have been given is that the teachers may not be teaching this at all because there will be other people being brought in. It does state in the NCCA report and in another research paper that they don't class the teachers as being qualified enough to teach this.
So who are they going to bring in?
They're going to bring...
We've hardly enough teachers in the country. Where are we going to get...
These are big questions. Yeah, these are big questions, and these are the questions we want answered. You see,
Rebecca,
a teacher knows every child individually in their class.
Yeah.
They will know what they're capable of. They will know what their background is, and they'll know their family background. They'll know all about their insecurities, and they'll know exceptionally well what they are capable of processing with regards to any type of information. But if you have an outsider coming in to teach anything to a child and it's a one-size-fits-all, then they don't know every child individually. So every child must be taken as an individual, and you need to assess them as to whether they can accept the information that's been given to them. And another question is, does every parent actually know what their child has been taught within their RSE programme? Because there is a mix now. You have the SPHE as well as the RSE. And what the parents that have come to us are saying is that they are only objecting to the RSE programme, not the SPHE. So they don't want sexual activity being taught to their children, but the SPHE, which is your social, physical health,
but I'm
part that they don't mind. But because it's mixed, because it's actually mixed up together, then at the minute we have a right to object to a child having an RSE programme. Now, in some schools, you have to physically, if you do object, you have to physically take your child out of the class for that length of time and then possibly put them back into class again. So we definitely don't think that that's appropriate either. The children shouldn't have to leave the school grounds based on a particular slot of information that parents don't want them to have. So that's another question. So you said
just to be clear before we get bogged down in acronyms, just to be clear, you don't believe there should be any conversation in primary school about...
Absolutely not.
No, hang on, about... Well, it has to be conversation, but about different things. But you don't think there should be any conversation related to sex or sexuality or parts of your body?
Well, I don't think sexual activity is absolutely unacceptable in national schools. Yeah.
What do you mean sexual activity?
Well, I would urge the people to actually type into Google, bring up the actual document. It's the World Health Organization, WHO in brackets. It's a framework for teachers and educators and the health professionals.
But what is this? Obviously, no one agrees with sexual activity in the normal meaning of those words. But you don't think if a child says, teacher, what is this part of my body called? And she points to her vagina. Should the teacher say vagina?
At what age?
In 6th class.
In 6th class, it's a little bit different.
Okay.
6th class can be that little bit different in regards to body parts like that.
5th class.
But they're talking... But
5th class.
They are... Well, you're absolutely talking about within the document, within the information that we have, they're talking about that so much younger, and they want to bring it right down into your junior and senior infants classes.
Well, they said it will be age appropriate. And they're running it. They're running, in fairness, the NCCA have run, and I can only argue in terms of numbers, but in terms of numbers of consultation, they're running a faultless consultation process. Faultless.
Faultless, is that what you said?
The Parents' Voice, they've had over 4,000 survey responses, over 3,500 National Parents' Council primary survey responses, 560 National Parents' Council post-primary survey responses, 36 student focus groups, 22 teacher focus groups. This is only so far 10 parent focus groups, 20 senior management focus groups, Student Voice, 512 survey responses, young people, 77 young people at a call in the know, facing each other consultation. Teachers, nearly 1,500 teachers have responded to a survey, 65 written submissions and received meetings with 61 organisations. 51 organisations represented at an RSE symposium. That's not bad now.
That's what's stated in the NCCA report, and you're correct about that. But the one thing that I would say to you is that it has been brought to my attention that they have also stated that you're allowed to go and do your survey multiple times over. So what I would like to know from that survey alone is how many people did it more than once.
So you don't trust the survey.
So as far as I'm concerned, those numbers are not correct.
So you don't trust the NCCA in terms of...
Absolutely not. No, I don't trust those figures.
That's a core of it. When a young boy or a young girl says to a teacher, what is this part of my body called? Pointing to their penis or their vagina. Should the teacher be allowed just simply say, Lydia, that's your vagina, or Peter, that's your penis?
It all depends on the age group that you're talking about, Joe.
Yeah, but Rebecca, I'm asking you to give me the all depends. What age does it all depend on?
Why would I give the answer?
Because you're the one objecting to it.
I'm not the only person, Joe.
But you're the person who's on the radio at the minute, Rebecca, in fairness.
Well, yes, I am.
And you have an objection to it. So I'm only trying to be helpful here to people. What age do you think a teacher can respond with the words, just a word, doesn't, and more often than not, at that age group it would disappear. Well, what age do you think a teacher can respond with the word penis or vagina?
Oh, I don't think that a teacher should have to do that. I think that the parents should be doing that. So if the child asks a question, then they can obviously say you can ask your parents at home. And they will explain everything to you about your body. And
up to what age?
And leave the responsibility with the parents.
So, and does that go on to leaving cert?
Well, we have to have discussions, and we're having a meeting in Letterkenny tomorrow night at 8 o'clock in Gallagher's Hotel. So if anybody wants to travel, if anybody would like to have the information, we can obviously give them information at that stage.
So what age do you think a pupil should receive an answer from a teacher, primary or second level, when they say, teacher, what is this called, penis or vagina? And the teacher can answer.
I don't know why we're so hung up on just those two words, because that is not the only problem within the information that's given in the World Health Organization document. That's not the only problem that there is. That is not the only words that they'll be taught.
Do you use a phrase? Maybe I'm wrong here, but do you use a phrase in your correspondence? Do you think children at primary level being taught the words penis and vagina when describing body parts is sexualising them at an early age?
I wouldn't say that it's sexualising them, no.
Okay, then that's not a phrase from any of your documentation?
No.
Okay. Rosemary McLaughlin, Rosemary, your point, please, to Rebecca.
Well, I think we should learn from the past where everything was covered up and it was, women were kept in the dark about their bodies until they got their periods and they didn't know what it was. So I think we've learned from the past, and we've also learned from the data that suggests that if you educate teenagers, since we started educating teenagers, all the teenage pregnancies have just dropped dramatically, and where there is no education, there's huge amounts of teenage pregnancies. And also, as you know, whether they're out in the open, of course, abortion follows that, So to prevent all that, we decided in the modern day to educate all our children early. And I think Europe has it right, where they start at a very young age and in a very natural way, never allow taboo to enter into that same discussion, into your mind when you're discussing sex, because sex is a natural thing and it should be taught, I think, in a natural way whenever it occurs, age appropriately, of course. As young as the child starts asking questions, because those children are calling their private part something. I mean, if you don't want to call it a penis until they're 14, do you think they're not calling it something? I mean, why not give them the proper words? Like my father, who was a pharmacist, would have talked about penises, and my mother, of course, being open-minded, and vaginas and all that stuff. Whenever we were asked them, and we were told not to refer to them by any other slang names, she would be upset if we called anything but, breasts were called breasts and all that.
Well,
and it was all very matter of fact, it was all very matter of fact, and we all had to be. I was explained about periods when I was 8. So you got to start explaining the reason for periods as well.
What age when a child puts up their hand and says to the teacher, "Teacher, what is this part of my body called?"
Just whatever age they ask. Like that age, of course, you tell them the truth. It's whatever it is. I mean, they have to call it something, don't they?
And what do you think?
Well,
Rebecca's proposal is go home and ask your mammy and daddy.
Well, I mean, the child probably won't. I mean, the child is there in sex education class for a reason, to learn about these things. And if the mum thinks that they're getting sex education in school, she's probably not going to bother. And a lot of parents are too shy. They're also not trained to do it in a sensitive way. They do it, and they might be too embarrassed. And that's often the way and the reason they don't even explain the facts of life. And they learned it all from the kids behind the shed. I mean, that's not the way to do it when the kid's 14 and pregnant and doesn't know how it happened, really. So if a child,
an 8-year-old child in second class, 8 or 9, puts up their hand and says, "Teacher, what is this part of my body called?" You think the teacher should simply say vagina or penis, whatever?
Oh, for God's sake. You do that when they're 2.
Rebecca?
They're 3.
Rebecca?
If they're 3 and 2, that is what it's called. Why would you have a problem with it? I don't get it at all.
Rebecca, why would you have a problem with it?
Well, like I said, there's a lot of different issues that needs to be addressed. And penis and vagina, we're well used to saying that ourselves as adults, okay?
Yeah.
I don't see the need for very young children to have to know it at such an early age. But that's my own personal view.
So what would you call it? When a child of 2 asks, what is this called? What would you call it if you were the mother?
You see, again, that's not the issue, and that is not.
If the mother,
that's not the only issue that we have. Yeah, what you need to understand is the issue. So if you let me speak, what the issue is that we have, that the group has been able to tell me, is that the parents don't always know the information that's on the RSE programme. A lot of them didn't even know that their child was getting it. So what we would be advocating as a group is that every parent must be given the information from their own schools in regards to what RSE programme that their school is delivering, because as we know it, there's different programmes in every school.
Okay,
not every school is the same.
Yeah. So what? And
what we need is clarity on the information that's given to the children, and we believe that the parents should have the information first before the children, so that then they can make an informed decision in regards to whether they decide their children is capable of taking in the information, or whether they object to it and they don't want them to have it, and they will give them the information at home. I think that the parents should be absolutely given that choice.
So the parents can withdraw their children from any aspect of this course if they wish.
Well, they would be informed, and they could make an informed decision as to whether they would agree with all of the information or not.
But obviously,
not every school is
but obviously,
that
if you're saying to them make an informed decision, there has to be some consequence. In other words,
you have to.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's very fair if children are given information that the parents don't know about, and they might never have wanted their child to have that information at the particular age that their child is at. Because every child develops completely different and at different stages. And what I would also like to say is we do have children with disabilities now. Well, we do have children with disabilities now, and there's a lot more in schools. And I had a parent who asked me, are they going to be given the same detailed information as what the other children in the other class are going to be given? And I personally can't answer that question. So every school must provide the information, as far as that we're concerned, to the parents. Let the parents decide. It's only then that you can make an informed decision, either a yes or a no, whether you're happy with them to have the information.
And that's why there's an NCCA, and that's why there's a consultation process. But how do you propose?
Well, nobody asked me, Rebecca, and I didn't know how to get the information.
You know about the NCCA. You know about the NCCA website, don't you?
Well, not every parent will know about the NCCA website.
You said no one asked.
Not every parent will.
I know that, and
that's
life,
you know?
and not every parent, especially not every parent is running around from 6:20 in the morning till 8:30 at night trying to juggle jobs and childcare. Can sit down. They trust. It's a society. They have a trust in their teachers.
You're not going to ask what's on the history course, what's on the geography course. I want to know what's on the science course.
I think that's absolutely a different subject altogether. You're talking about sexual activity to young children in national school. It's a totally different game altogether than history or geography or anything to do with that.
But it's still
RSE
and
Jane, sorry for holding you. Quick point.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Joe. I just wanted to reply to Rebecca on this. She said, as history has taught us, and she said, probably not even referring to history, that we must teach this to our children, because children need to know the words, they need to know what's going on. Because I tell you what, there's a lot of children in this country who are suffering from abuse. They need to be able to express this within the classroom. They need to be able to put their hand up and say, so and so touched me there. It's just what this woman is saying is incorrect, and unfortunately it has to start very young, as we know, to the cost of what's gone on in this country, it absolutely must be taught. And unfortunately, what this woman, children's rights are as important as parents' rights, and as far as I'm concerned, they are our children. They are not our property.
Okay,
they must be taught this.
Okay, thank you, Jane. Charlotte, again, and apologies for holding you for so long. Charlotte Bruin, secondary school teacher who would have taught sex education in the past. What do you think of the proposals, the changes? It's not in concrete yet. Go ahead, Charlotte.
Hi, Joe, and the rest of the panel. There's just a few things Jane just said there about children that are abused, and they need the language to be able to express it. It's claimed that 1 in 4 is abused, and I'm afraid the other 3/4 of the children shouldn't be exposed to things that they needn't be exposed to help the 1/4 that need help. I agree they need help, but by exposing the others, I don't think that's the way to go. The Constitution, Article 42, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, European Convention on Human Rights, and the Irish Court's precedents all tell us that the parent knows best and they're the primary educator. It is up to the parents to be fully informed by the youth groups or by the schools before this information is being given.
And but Charlotte, how do you check that the parent is fully informed? How do you check
Yeah,
that?
how
do you authenticate,
I'll answer your
verify and
question.
validate that? You can do it with teachers because they do training courses and exams at the end of it.
Yeah, of course.
But how do you verify, validate and authenticate that parents are up to speed on all aspects of talking about sexuality?
What you don't do is send home a form to be signed in the bottom of the bag if the parent doesn't want the child to attend the classes. That's not what you do. You send a form home for the parent to sign if the child is to attend the classes, and you do not assume consent, which is completely wrong. That's what you don't do. That's what the vast majority of schools in Ireland do. They send the thing home in the bottom of the bag.
Did you object to that in your school, Charlotte?
I didn't have to send consent forms home. I wasn't the head of the department. But I would absolutely object to any school doing it, absolutely. And just to say, in the past, this woman, Jane, that came on to speak, and I didn't hear Rebecca refer to history, but in the past we allowed access to our children by strangers or relative strangers, and we trusted, that was the word that you used there a little while ago, Joe, we trusted that they would do their job properly, and that was a big mistake. We should not have strangers or relative strangers forcing
and
our children
but who were you talking? Who were the relative strangers you're talking about? Clerics?
I'm talking about the teachers or the people that come in to give these classes, because a lot of the time the teachers aren't happy and aren't comfortable to give these classes.
Okay.
There are relative strangers coming into classes.
Yeah, but they're not just knocking on. I'm way over. They're not just knocking on the door saying, "Can I stick my head in and talk about?"
Neither were the other people who got access to our children in the past and caused major problems.
Okay, you've opened a can of worms there. Okay, back tomorrow, 1:45. Tara Locker Grant produced, and Ray Darcy next.